Hands where I can see them, old man. The young officer's voice sliced through the quiet afternoon like a blade. On the corner of Maple Street, Lewis Carter sat motionless on a worn bench, his dark brown hands resting quietly on his knees. His faded blazer and scuffed shoes told one story. But the calm in his eyes told another. The officer didn't care to look closer. "You can't loiter here. ID, now." A small crowd gathered. Some whispered, some pulled out phones. Lewis stayed silent, eyes heavy with thought. His breathing steady, unmoved by the hostility inches from his face. The officer's hand hovered near his holster. "Don't make me ask twice." A cold wind swept down the street, brushing against the courthouse across the plaza, the very building Lewis had left minutes earlier. But here, stripped of title and robes, he was invisible. The young cop's voice grew sharper. "Stand up. You hear me?" Still, Lewis didn't move. Around them, eyes darted, recording, judging. But nobody stepped forward. And then, with a frustrated grunt, the officer reached for his gun. The barrel pointed at Lewis's chest. But Lewis didn't even blink. A hush rippled through the crowd as the officer's hand tightened around the weapon. The hum of traffic faded. Only the clicking of cameras remained. Lewis finally moved, slowly, reaching into his pocket. The officer flinched, barking, "Hands. Hands but what emerged wasn't a weapon. It was a crumpled document, half-folded, weathered by time. It slipped from Lewis's hand, falling to the pavement. The crowd leaned in. A silver pin, a judge's insignia, rolled across the sidewalk, coming to rest beside the document. The young officer's eyes narrowed. His arrogance cracked, uncertainty flashing across his face. A woman in business attire broke through the crowd. Panic etched on her features, her voice sharp. "Stop. That's Judge Lewis Carter." Gasps. The officer's grip on the gun faltered. Murmurs filled the air. Lewis bent down, retrieved the insignia with practiced grace, brushing dust from its surface. But he said nothing. His silence, heavy as stone, pressed on the crowd. A faint flash of grief crossed his face, the insignia reminding him of years lost to silence, of his wife's photo tucked away, of battles fought not in court, but in the quiet spaces in between. The officer stumbled back, the gun lowering with clumsy haste. The crowd shifted, their whispers growing sharper. The woman's voice cracked with urgency. "He presided over today's grand jury. The highest court in this county." The young cop's face drained of color. Lewis stepped forward, the insignia resting between his fingers, its silver gleam stark against his weathered skin. The courthouse loomed behind him now, its columns, its weight, its justice, all stitched to his quiet authority. He placed the insignia gently into his breast pocket, straightened his faded blazer, and met the officer's gaze. "The thing you nearly disrespected," Lewis said, voice low, firm, "is the reason you wear that badge." Silence swept the street. The officer's mouth opened, then shut. The crowd parted, making way. Lewis walked past without looking back. His step steady, unshaken, disappearing into the courthouse shadows. But on the ground, left behind for all to see, the weathered document, stamped boldly, "Superior Court, Judge Lewis Carter." If you believe dignity speaks louder than noise, subscribe for more. This world often forgets, but quiet strength never goes unnoticed. The young officer never spoke a word that day. And maybe, he didn't need to. Sometimes, the greatest lesson isn't delivered through punishment, but through the weight of quiet truth. Lewis Carter didn't raise his voice. He didn't demand apologies. Yet every step he took back toward that courthouse reminded them all, real justice doesn't shout, it endures. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe, share your thoughts below, and stay with us. Because the world may be loud, but dignity leaves echoes.